In the Shadow of the Moon. Plot. In the Shadow of the Moon is a 2019 science fiction thriller. The story centers on a police officer at the home of a serial killer who mysteriously resurfaces without aging every decade. The mysterious woman, Rhea, is Thomas's granddaughter from the year 2042. She is from an alternate timeline where a civil war sparked by hatred devastated the country. The first attack occurred in 2024 and escalated from there, with Rhea traveling back in time in 9-year intervals to kill key people, first in 2015, then 2016, then 1997, and finally 1988. There she is accidentally killed by Thomas. The result is a new timeline free of war and death. Rhea injects the victim with an unstable isotope invented by Dr. Naveen. This chemical can be activated remotely from the future starting in 2042. Rhea attacks people at various points in time, but their deaths are brought about by Naveen. A blood moon is a total lunar eclipse event, where the moon appears blood red. This type of eclipse occurs once every 9 years. The nature of time travel in this film is such that Rhea can jump from one blood moon to the previous one, and so on. The film theorizes an important scientific significance to the blood moon and that its gravitational poles, reacting with electromagnetic pockets on Earth, are what make it possible for the wormhole to be created, opening up spacetime to make the trip only into the past. In short, the blood moon causes time to travel back 9 years, hence the name of the film. Dr. Naveen is a scientist studying the blood moon. After years of research, he harnesses this phenomenon to power time travel. He, too, is affected by the civil war in Rhea's timeline. The reason for this goes without saying: the racist movement stems from the philosophy of white superiority. Therefore, anyone who isn't white will suffer in the future. He designs the time capsule for Rhea and also invents the unstable isotope death technique. We see the plot synopsis from Rhea's perspective. She was born in 2015 and raised by her grandfather, Thomas. In 2024, a man detonated a truck filled with homemade explosives. Fueled by anger and fear, a war spread across the country, devastating it for years to come. Finally, in 2042, she joins Dr. Naveen and embarks on a mission to travel back in time and kill a specific group of people who were vital in instigating the war. Arriving in 2015, Rhea meets Thomas. He had intended to kill her. She tells him she is his granddaughter from the future, from an alternate timeline, one that was tormented by war, and that Thomas was the one who groomed her in the future for this killing mission. She leaves and goes back 9 years. Arriving in 2006, Rhea murders more people. Just as she executes the white nationalist woman, Thomas chases her down and shoots her in the arm. Rhea manages to enter her time capsule and travels back 9 years. In this year, Thomas investigates an unreported victim from 1988. He goes to meet with the dead man's wife, who gives him information about her late husband. As a white nationalist, she mentions that her husband's ex-wife was also a white nationalist. Arriving in 1997, Rhea continues to eliminate more people and arrives at an airbase to steal a plane, but Thomas and Maddox track her down. Maddox sneaks up on Rhea, and she shoots him in the head. She escapes and takes Thomas hostage. She leaves him on the lakeshore and enters her capsule and goes back another 9 years. In this year, Dr. Naveen tries to talk to the detectives, but they both ignore him. Arriving in 1988, Rhea contemplates her latest murder spree and attempts to leave the city. She knows that time travel for her is a one-way trip, there's no going back. Besides, Thomas told her he killed her in 1988. Thomas and Maddox found her on the subway. She knocks Maddox down, but Thomas knocks her out with her own weapon. She falls onto the tracks of an oncoming train and dies. In 2015, Lockhart reunites with his family and embraces a chance at a new future with his newborn granddaughter. Comments. Now, why inject the substance? Can they be killed in any other way? Let's look at the scenario where something happened in the past, and a time traveler has to go back in time to kill a certain person or people involved and change the past and also the future. In this film, we see that the murder occurs through an injection in the back of the neck, and then the person dies. But why is there so much technological advancement in these murders? Why not do it like Terminator, for example, with a gunshot or knives? Something very common in these types of films is the paradox of predestination. Now, if the murders occurred in the same way, it's possible that the paradox of predestination would arise, and nothing could be changed. The injection is an unstable isotope, something very elaborate and time-consuming to develop. It wasn't just necessary to understand the causalities of the gravitational forces caused by the blood moon. Nor was it enough to develop the technology for the time travel capsule. It was necessary to create something that would avoid the predestination paradox by killing those people. We can see that this paradox is already present in the plot. For example, in the future, Thomas tells him to kill her in the past, and that doesn't change, so a method has to be invented to avoid the predestination paradox. Space-time was aligned between the Earth 9 years prior and the present Earth. For that reason, travel could only be made backward, and it was impossible to return with that isotope. It was possible to somehow murder a person, but avoid the predestination paradox by erasing their existence from the timeline. That's why Dr. Naveen was the one who controlled the murders from the future through the wormhole created by the gravitational forces of the moon. Any action had to be done right that night. After that, the link would be broken, and the isotope could no longer be detonated, which erased the person's existence and the causalities of their actions in spacetime. That is, with this isotope and since the spacetimes of the two Earths were aligned, actions in the past reached the Earth of the future, avoiding the predestination paradox, as well as the creation of the alternate world, erasing that event, since no one else would perform that action. In other words, sometimes a person is killed, for example, the person who invented Skynet, but the predestination paradox takes over, and then a different person creates Skynet. So you only changed who invented Skynet, but you didn't prevent Skynet from appearing, since that future had already been created. With this isotope, they could track the individual and kill them, intertwine the spacetimes of the two Earths so that events from the past would reach the Earth of the future and definitively change history, annihilating the predestination paradox. We can see this graphically here. For example, we have three Earths, 1988 at a time t0, 1997 at a time t1 and 2006 at a time t2. So, since time travel is possible here, we have negative times, we travel from 2006 from t2 to t1. And then we travel from t1 to t0. Here we can see that if we change something at t0 the causality does not reach t1, the Earth at t0 moves at a speed, the Earth at t1 moves at the same speed, then the Earth at t0 will never be able to reach in spacetime the Earth at t1, just as the Earth at t1 will never be able to reach in spacetime the Earth at t2. By creating a wormhole and with this unstable isotope, we can make the causalities of time t0 reach the Earth at t1 and at the same time the causalities of t1 reach the Earth at t2. I hope I've explained it well. If you want to see it another way, we are positioned at a point in space right now, at this moment. But the Earth was at a different point yesterday. And the two Earths, the Earth of yesterday and the Earth of today, are moving at a constant speed, so the Earth of yesterday will never be able to catch up with the Earth of today. So the causalities of the past will not reach the Earth of today, which is why the parallel universe or an alternate Earth is created. I hope that makes it clearer. Otherwise, there would be two scenarios without that isotope: the person is killed, but another takes their place, which is what happens in Terminator with Skynet. That person is killed and history is permanently changed, but an alternate universe is created, while the future remains the same. That's what the isotope is used for. Otherwise, it would be enough to stab, snap, shoot, or whatever you can think of to eliminate these people. The isotope is important for this reason, because it requires eliminating the paradox of predestination and also preventing the creation of an alternate Earth, that is, a parallel universe. We don't just want to change the past, but also the actions or causalities of the past in the future. Critics. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 48 out of 100, based on 9 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. In a 3 out of 5 stars review, The Guardian called the film odd and unwieldy, but the reviewer added, "I also found myself oddly charmed by its brazen nuttiness, a film aiming for the stars." The Crooked Marquee website opines that director Mickle does what he can with the screenplay by first-timers Gregory Weidman and Jeffrey Tock, but he's hamstrung by its focus on the cop stuff, which is formulaic, over the sci-fi stuff. The meat of the story, though, which has Locke going a little insane trying to figure out what's happening, and convince others of it, is exciting, nerdy sci-fi business, and Holbrook and Hall were their weary cop characters well. Similarly, the Slash film site reviewer calls it a frenetic mashup of sci-fi, mystery, horror, and action, saying that Weidman and Tock have a wealth of inventive ideas, some of which pack a punch. But the writers never seem fully confident in the story they're telling, and as determined as the film's script is to defy expectations, one can't just help that the writers had settled in on a specific genre and stuck with it. The reviewer for IGN argues that, while the film's ambitions are lofty, it isn't quite the sum of its parts, yet, it's a breathless opener, which startles and thrills in equal measure. The script by Gregory Weidman and Jeffrey Took motoring at breakneck speed, and director Jim Mickle, injecting energy, vitality and intensity into every scene. Let me know your comments. That's all I had to say. Goodbye.